Kingdoms rise and empires crumble, and the knowledge and wisdom from past ages are lost to the foggy ruins of time. But for genuine seekers of truth, one place stands alone on a hill, shining brightly in the darkness. You, dear listener, have reached the Hidden Citadel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Or afternoon, or evening, or wherever you are, whenever you are watching this broadcast. For us, it's a little early this time. We usually record in the afternoon, but we're getting to it bright and early today because we're talking about dragons.
Dun, dun.
And before we get into dragons, I have a couple cool announcements. Number one is last night I started reviewing the brand new Parafable that came my way, and I've been enjoying that. I haven't got it completely finished, and then this morning I got another one, the edit of it.
Yeah.
So I've got to switch over and read that one.
Oh,
I'm pretty excited about the possibilities of how we can package this.
I think so,
really
too.
think like a comic book style would be really, really cool, but more like
graphic novel
mix between a comic book and a book, you know?
Yeah.
Because it'll have like a lot more writing for on every other page. I think it's just going to be cool. I like this one.
It wrote itself. Like this one did.
That's cool.
It's one of those things where you're writing it going, oh, like at one point I got teary. There's one point if you
Well, you know what's funny is I was watching before I went to bed last night this old British TV show called Cracker.
Yeah.
And the subject matter of the Parafable and the subject matter of the TV show lined up, and the TV show is old. I mean, it's like from the 90s. And it's just kind of random that I was watching it and it lined up right with what you were writing about.
Wow.
So I was like, that was really cool. And I was like, that's neat.
I was able to put in a couple of characters from TOB as well.
I noticed that too. I like that too. That was cool.
Yeah.
So that's getting worked on. This week I did a lot of work on the volume 2 of the Encyclopedia of Weird Crap, and I noticed that as I went through editing it, I was like, oh, there's a big section that I forgot to fill in with some of the other material that we produced, and so I was like, oh, well, I got to go and do that. So it may take a little longer this year. It might be more like November before I get it out and ready to go. I'm still trying to get it ready for September, but I also found out I'm going out to LA in August, so I might, because everybody's got an ocean, at least they do in LA, to surf in.
That's true.
So I'm going to Paradise
You're going across the USA.
That's right, where the Beach Boys took the first photo for the Surfin' Safari album.
Oh, wow.
So, and if anybody likes the Fantastic Flying Frogs or knows of them, they'll know that I really like the Beach Boys.
Yes.
So anyhow, I'm going out there, so it may push it back a little bit, but it's going to be a little bit bigger than what I initially anticipated, so that's pretty cool.
Yep.
And then also, my book is out now by the time this video comes out. Ren Fair Magic by Willie Minix.
That's
if you want to be a performer in a show. But not only is the book out,
love this.
Also, I designed a whole bunch. There's about 15 or so decks of cards that that came out for the that are coming out with the book. So you can go to my blog. I think it'll be on the Hidden Citadel blog too. WordPress4.Hidden Citadel or whatever it is. Let me go to the blog. Yeah, HiddenCitadel4.wordpress.com. It'll have these. But the cards, I'll show the cards are these Ren Fair characters.
So cool.
They're not like just regular poker cards. What they are is they're actually cards of characters so that you can do tricks if you're a magician in the Ren Fair setting without having to, have like a modern looking deck of cards. And what's cool about these is I got the idea from the old Magic the Gathering game.
Yep.
That you could buy expansion packs and add to your deck. And so I'm producing, not only I got a pirate deck and then a regular deck, and the decks are called the Portraits of Glastonbury decks, for a trick that's I can actually do for you in a second if you want to see it. It's called the Portraits of Glastonbury decks, and there's a Camelot expansion pack, a Monster expansion pack, a Magic Item expansion pack.
Nice.
There's a pirate deck. There's a couple classic magic trick decks that are actually out on the market that you can get like with bicycle cards, but I've reproduced them with these cards too. And so there's just a lot of really cool hang on. Anyway, what was I talking about? I was talking about the Camelot deck, the Monster deck, a Magic Item deck. There's a Kaleidoscope card deck, rainbow style deck. There's just a lot of different magic tricks that I've gotten these cards with, and I'll show you one, Greg. So let me see if I can get this. Let's see if I can get this in camera here. This is a stand that anybody can make. So it's like, I'm gonna have to zoom out my camera a little bit. There we go. Okay, so Greg, I'm gonna riffle through the deck like this. You just tell me when to stop.
Okay, stop.
Right there. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm gonna show you a card. Don't tell me what it is, but you got kind of the look of it.
Yeah.
I got it close enough.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna put it back in the middle of the deck, and I'm gonna shuffle it up. Okay. And you can tell me when to stop shuffling too. I'm trying to get this to where you and the other camera can see everything. This is more difficult doing magic tricks on film than it is in real life.
Yeah. You need a producer in the...
All right. I'm going to say that's good enough. Okay. This is a pain. I'm going to take the 5 cards off the top.
Okay.
And I'm going to stick them into my little stand here.
Okay.
Okay. And notice that each one, on my stand, and of course people that buy this can make their own stand, I put these gems, and each gem can represent like a different, magic property or something, if you want to say. You could say this is a ruby, and rubies were originally known for like bringing healing or whatever.
It's like the
Sapphires.
Infinity Stones. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like the Infinity Stones. Anyway, you could go into all that if you want to.
Right.
But I built this stand. So now I took the 5 off the top. Let's see if we can match with Greg's card. Did I show the main camera?
See, I only have 3 cards that I can see right now.
Okay, let me...
There you go. Now I can see them all.
So I've got red, blue, yellow, green, purple. Which would you like to choose?
Purple.
Okay, this is your purple card. Are you sure?
Yep.
You could change it if you want to.
That's my purple card.
Okay, so you got your purple card. What we're going to do is we're going to swing this around. Does the purple card match your card?
Yes.
Let's bring it over here. So it's a bard, and you could have picked, what is this? A Death Knight, a guy with a cobra, a werewolf with armor, or some pirate girl.
Yeah.
So of the 5, you ended up with the same one that was your card that we mixed into the deck.
Right.
Isn't that astounding?
That is astounding.
Aren't you amazed? That is the Portraits of Glastonbury trick that somebody could buy.
Yeah.
And or that comes with just about every one of my decks. There's a set of cards that you can get you can enhance your Portraits of Glastonbury. Now here's why I designed a bunch of different variants on that trick that can come with expansion packs. When you're performing at a Renaissance fair or a carnival or some event that's like all day long, a lot of times they say don't repeat the same trick because then people will figure out how you did the trick.
Yeah.
What's cool about this, though, having several different ways that you can do the trick,
Yeah.
you could perform this over and over and over all day long. And if people from one audience end up coming back around to see your show again,
Yeah.
you're not going to get some heckler saying, "Oh yeah, that was the Bard girl," and he's going to pick the Bard girl, everybody, and then
Yeah.
you pull it out and it's the werewolf.
Yeah.
So it's like it can change every single time you
Yeah.
do the trick. So
makes sense. Slight variations.
It's a pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So that's the Portraits of Glastonbury decks, plural. A lot of different ones that you can get, and they're really, really, really cool. So on to the show, and today's show is connected to the Renaissance Festival because we're talking about what
Dragons.
are we talking about, Greg? Dragons. Yes. I don't know, man. Dragons are like, we have been negligent. We should have talked about dragons
at least once a week. I know.
Pretty much. It really should be the kind of thing that we talk about on a daily basis.
That's right. Well, we kind of do with the adversary being a dragon.
Well, that's true. We do talk about that. I am like blown away because there's so many directions that we could go with this.
All right.
And I'm going to just kind of shotgun out some topics.
Let's go.
And how about you just tell me what you would like to talk about?
All right.
We could talk about Ropin sightings, which are these dragon pterodactyl type creatures that have been sighted all over Papua New Guinea and other places in the world.
Wait, let's start with that.
Right there, okay.
Yeah, because and I'll tell you why once we get talking about it.
Okay. So apparently, there are around the world for thousands of years, possibly even back. I'm going to bring up a picture here that you can't see, but the people at home can see. But I'm going to show you a drawing that I made of what they're looking at. For thousands of years, people have seen these creatures flying around, so much so that some people speculate that the Nehushtan was actually a pterodactyl.
Oh.
Because it represents more like a image of Jesus on the cross.
Explain what the Nehushtan is.
So the Nehushtan, back in in Numbers 21, the people were being attacked by these fiery serpents. And the word there is the same exact word that is used in Isaiah 30, but it's translated as fiery flying serpents. And it's from the same word as seraphim.
Yep.
It comes from the same root word.
Yep.
And so what they're saying is there was, during the time of the Exodus, these snakes that were attacking people were not just regular snakes. They were somehow flying snakes that were attacking them. And the funny thing is, cultures all over the world have stories about these flying snakes. You've got Quetzalcoatl in the Indo-American cultures. You've got the wyverns of Welsh mythology that were these snakes that, in a lot of them, they had 2 arms and a really most of their body was a tail, but they didn't count that their wings were actually 2 arms too. So a lot of them said it's a 2-legged dragon or whatever. You had the in German mythology, there's these creatures, and they go from being massive, really big creatures to being tiny little ones. So in some places they're drawn and depicted as tiny little beings. In other accounts, like the American Indians have the Thunderbird, and the Thunderbird is this massive, massive bird creature that when it flaps its wings, thunder comes. But what they found out is that pterodactyls often were heavy, so they needed heavier winds, like storms, to actually get them off the ground. And so they did most of their flying during storms, probably, the big ones anyway. And then you have tales from I think it was Pliny the Elder wrote about the battle between elephants and the flying serpents, or dragons and elephants, and he talked about how they came from Mauritania. And Mauritania, we've kind of covered in the Atlantis episode, is one of the main contenders for where Atlantis was, which is kind of a cool thing.
There's two dragon names that I don't, they're used in basically, I think, in the occult, but for some reason I think they're dragon names, and that's Tiamat and Baphomet.
Yes,
but they're both dragon names. I mean, they've always been dragon names, but I'm just not really sure. But I think they're used in other kinds of ways.
Baphomet's also the goat god kind of thing. That's kind of a was androgynous goat-headed thing. But you're right. It's like before they got the name Baphomet, it became that. But the word Baphomet comes from the word behemoth.
Yeah, but it's also Baphomet is associated with a fire baptism, which is the expulsion of fire, immersing somebody, not unlike Smaug in The Hobbit. It's kind of like.
But Tiamat is connected to Hercules' Hydra, the multi-headed dragon that he slew.
Yes,
and here's an interesting thing. I don't know about pterodactyls, but I know that snakes oftentimes have been born with multiple heads.
Yeah.
Like I've seen 2- and 3-headed snakes that people have found, which is some sort of a birth defect that runs in reptilian creatures. And there have been even amphibians with this, like there's been 2-headed frogs that I've seen and things like that.
And my in-laws. Yeah.
You've got an Etten in the family. There was a scientist a while back named Martin Moder. He was a German scientist that he was studying fire breathing, and he said that the electric eels have an organ called the electroplax, which produces 860 volts, a spark of 860 volts, which is enough to ignite methane.
Wow.
So he was saying if a creature like a dragon had an electroplax organ in its mouth and it burped up methane after eating like a cow or something, it definitely could spit fire. And then he said, and furthermore, in a lot of the areas where they talk about fire-breathing dragons, there are lycopodium spores that are also collected and used in fireworks displays because it gives you a big flash and it saves on the amount of gunpowder you have to use in the fireworks. And he was like, if they were eating something that had the spores, or if the spores were prevalent in an area,
part of their stomach.
Dragon,
maybe
could be something that they ate, and they belched it out with methane, you could have a massive explosive fireball that comes out of the dragon, and the animal could only do this like once a day as it digested the food. But isn't that enough if somebody saw a big lizard barf up, a big ball of fire, that they would say, oh my goodness, those things can breathe fire. But the ropens are a little bit different. The ropens are seen as actually glowing in the dark, and like people have reported, and they've seen sightings in Hawaii, sightings in Papua New Guinea, sightings in Yakima Valley in Washington. These creatures that look like pterodactyls at night, they glow, and they look like these shooting stars going across the sky, but then all of a sudden they'll change direction and go the other way, and then they'll change direction again, and they say that their bellies basically glow different colors depending on, and they don't really know why they change colors, but predominantly they're green. But every once in a while they'll see a red one or like a pink one, or I think there's been an orange or an amber looking sightings before of these. And one guy in Papua New Guinea talked about how the ropin came down and grabbed a kid and tried to fly off with the kid, and the kid was like smacking it, and the roping dropped him, and they caught the kid and brought him to safety.
Yeah.
But kid, I don't mean a goat. I mean like an actual
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
And and so a Christian Missionary Alliance missionary went over there in 2004 with an expedition and was trying to find images and video of the roping, but they couldn't find
Mm,
anything other than at night they did get some video of like out in the distance these things flying around and glowing.
yeah.
And a lot of people said, well, that's a hoax. But I'm like, I was a Christian and Missionary Alliance pastor
Hmm.
for several years. And I mean, we had a few bad apples, because, any organization that lets Calvinists in are going to have some. But,
Somehow we get
um,
there. Every.
yeah, but but most of the guys were pretty decent people, so I
Yeah.
really don't see some missionary just making up, a story that they saw this glowing flying pterodactyl
I
out there
know.
that was taking children away.
And that's what we're going to get to later on, like I said, with the Papua New Guinea thing, because my brother-in-law, Rob, his family grew up in Bali, and the area there is just filled with witch doctors and all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of stuff. And so he has seen supernatural, spiritual things happen right in front of him. Like, and you talk to him, he's the most rational, book smart guy, but it doesn't matter. He's seen right in front
Yeah.
of him. He goes, it's just that the evil is prevalent, really. Where evil is prevalent, there you see this kind of thing.
Yeah, and I don't know that it's just the evil. The other thing about it is Papua New Guinea is one of the most unexplored, dense jungle regions in the world. And if some creature is going to hide out there,
Yeah,
that's a perfect place for it to hide out,
yeah. Well,
So
well,
you got the combination of both of them.
well, and that's the thing. So there are definite, the Heiser always talks about or talked about cosmic cosmic geography, right? So he's always talking
Mm-hmm.
about that there are places that are very important. There are places that are blessed. There are places that are marked as,
Mm-hmm.
the place where God dwells, right? But there are also places in which gatherings of there's evil and there's
Yeah.
evil events, and they have the Sodom and Gomorrah. You have those places why not? Why is the place itself get
Yeah.
and so with that reasoning, I'm just taking you through my reasoning here. Papua New Guinea has some horrible, horrible things that happen with the tribes there, and it's
Yeah.
such a distortion of what just kind of the dignity of human existence is supposed to be, and it's such a distortion that it's like disgusting. And so
Yeah.
it's all, and we find with Chemosh and Moloch that when things involve children, evil involves children, it is a unique, almost
Yes, type of evil.
exponential kind of evil. So with that, when you have
Yeah.
those kinds of things, then chances are, like I was saying about my brother-in-law, then you could also have uh, evil sightings of things, the
Yeah.
existence of evil. So, you know, like the times that dragons are usually depicted in scripture are usually the association with the fire with the adversary.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at
Well,
like these almost like distorted minions and stuff that might be hiding out in the place of evil because it's their dwelling. Like in this, you're gonna have you have where you have places in jungles where unique creatures exist. It's because their habitat is perfect for them. Well, maybe
yeah,
this is the habitat that's perfect for these kinds of creatures.
it could be. And when you think about it, it's like if you, okay, for instance, from Scotland all the way over to the Appalachian Mountains, I
Hmm.
saw a thing that it said that basically that is one big mountain chain.
Yeah,
Okay. And so conversely, over on the Pacific Rim, from Washington State down along the coast of California, out to Hawaii, across the Solomon Islands, and all the way down to New Guinea and even into Australia, you have sightings of these pterodactyl-like creatures.
yeah,
Well, why wouldn't they if that's their natural? And then in the American Southwest, the Thunderbird.
Yep.
And so it's like, well, why wouldn't they exist
Yep.
in a place like that? They seem to prefer rocky, craggy places. And the funny thing is, there is not just one or two sightings by some weird, sketchy crank type people, but there literally are thousands of sightings from
Yeah.
credible people
Yeah.
that have said, "Yeah, I saw this thing," and some of them were like, there was a biologist, one of the people that saw it, and they were like, "I don't even know how to process what I saw," and my son saw it first and
Mhm.
pointed it out to me, and I was like, "That can't be." I mean, it's definitely a pterosaur, but I don't know how on earth a pterosaur can be flying around, and I can see this. There are sightings from doctors and lawyers, and there's sightings from just farmers and all sorts of people from all sorts of backgrounds have had these sightings, and they don't stop. There's more and more of them every day, and then they take video, and people are like, "Well, that's fake."
Yeah.
Because it's blurry. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I mean, I have pictures trying to catch my dog doing something cute that are blurry. And if I can't
Yeah.
even get a decent, and I've got a really good camera on
Yeah.
my phone, if I can't even get a decent picture of my dog, how am I supposed to get a real quick picture of something flying through the air? It's like you're never going to get a really good picture unless some National Geographic person
Mhm.
just happens to catch the shot. And then guess what? I don't think National Geographic would ever publish something like that.
No.
They would bury that so
Yeah.
far, and I would be willing to bet money that they do have pictures
Oh, definitely.
in their archive of
Yeah.
some of these things that they're just not letting, out to the public because it goes against their fairy tale that they want to spout that the earth is billions and billions of years old and it's just not demonstrable. I think the thing too is fossils. The fossil record exists, and fossils can only form in a certain way. Like
Yeah.
if most things die out in the wild, it gets eaten and you don't find it. That's why we don't just find dinosaur bones or Bigfoot bones or whatever because, it's not laid down in the fossil record. But it that at some point in history there was a massive covering of the world in mud and
Mhm.
clay that encased everything
Yep.
and it turned into rock and it all happened throughout the entire world at one time. And what would that have been? That would have been Noah's flood. The
Yep.
Bible talks about it, and every other culture talks about that too.
Yep.
And this idea of sedimentary rock layers just gradually over time forming these different layers is easily disproven when you just look at something called a polystrate fossil. And a polystrate fossil is a fossilized tree. And when you see the trunk of a tree that goes up through multiple layers of strata, then you know that that strata was laid down all at one time. And so, at least from the bottom of that strata until the top of that strata, you could say that entire chunk,
Mhm.
which is supposed to be each one is like a million
Yeah.
years. Well, that entire chunk couldn't be millions of years. It all had to happen at the same time.
Yes.
It's just that different sediments, and you can do this at home. Take a jar, fill it up with sand, rocks, gravel, dirt,
Yep.
twigs, fill it up with water and shake it up and then just sit it somewhere and watch it settle,
Yep.
it will naturally settle into different strata. That's
Yeah.
just how it works when you put a bunch of water with matter like that.
My
You
sentiments
know,
exactly.
there you go. So I think that the fossil record really points to the flood, that Noah's
Yep.
flood actually happened. It was a global event.
Yeah.
And this is the one place where I kind of diverged from Heiser. Heiser didn't care. He was like, I don't really care if it was a localized flood or a global flood. And it's like, well, if there's so much evidence to the global flood, why, and I'm talking not just that kind of evidence, but also the fact that every culture has a flood myth, that they all have similar flood characters, Even the Chinese language, the word for salvation is 8 people in a boat.
Yeah.
It's like stuff like that. It's like that basically to me says that, okay, it is kind of an important thing to realize that the flood was not a localized flood, and that when you say it's a localized flood, you're really detracting from what the Bible actually says, because the Bible says it covered everything.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Well,
know?
I think there's two others that he gets kind of ambivalent about, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's strategy or he just actually doesn't care. And one is pre versus post trib, and the other one
Yeah,
is, or it's whether there's a rapture or not, and then UFOs. He's like,
yeah,
which I don't care either with that. I mean, I agree with him what he's saying.
right.
He's saying it doesn't take away from anything for that to exist, but he seems to
Well,
like, yeah,
I know that Heiser himself was post-trib, or borderline preterist,
yeah,
you know. But he didn't care what people thought about it, and I was like, well, why don't you care? Because if
yeah,
some people have to, if you're a published author,
yeah,
you should care about your stance. If you haven't studied it very much, then it's okay to say, well, that's not something I'm an expert at, and I
right,
really don't know enough about that yet to make a comment. But
yes,
if you have studied it enough,
mm-hmm,
and you really enough to have an opinion,
mm-hmm,
then it is kind of important, because people are following you trying to figure things out.
yeah,
And you should be willing to say, well, the evidence points to that there is going to be a tribulation, and the church is going to go through it, and then at the culmination of that will be the rapture. But the idea that people are afraid to say that, it makes me feel like, well, are you just afraid people aren't going to buy your books, or they're not going to listen to you, or they're going to
yeah,
shelve you because you don't agree with, like, Moody Radio? Like the time I was on Moody Radio and they had a big cow because I talked about a post-trib rapture and they're a pre-trib
yeah,
stance station. It's like, the Christians should wake up, number one, and read their Bible.
yeah.
Number two, they should not sit there and be shaken when somebody tests one of their pet
I know
theories.
that's how noble are the Bereans. I mean, come on, wake up! Like,
Yes.
go and it shouldn't be dyspeptic to you where you go, oh, I can't handle that,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna stay away from it. It should be provoking to you and going, okay,
Let me check this out and study it more.
either I'm going to revise based on facts or I'm going to study, and but either way, you're
hmm
provoking to add to your knowledge and not to avoid it.
Being provoked to study your Bible is always a good
Yes, it
thing.
is. It is. That's what
And
essentially that's what Paul's saying with the Bereans. So,
that's
but
what bothers me about systematic theology
mhm,
in general, because it's kind of like, okay, we've studied our systematic theology, we don't have to ever study this anymore. We've come up with our little idea about what God is, and we put it in a box and everything's great. And this is where your systems like Calvinism, why I'm so ready to attack it, is
mhm.
because all it is it's really, it's not a thinking man's religion. It's taking the mysteries of God and saying, "Oh, I've got these figured out," when you don't have them
Uh-uh.
figured out.
That's why they're mysteries. Yeah.
Exactly. And dragons are a mystery, and we don't know whether they're land animals or flying animals, because oftentimes in the old days they would refer to any big animal that, and it could be even a mammal. Sometimes in
Yeah.
the old records were referred to as dragons too.
Interesting.
And sometimes they would talk about, well, it had the head of a camel. Well, a camel head doesn't is not a reptilian head.
Yeah, but if you squint and look at the profile of the velociraptors in Jurassic Park, and you
That's
see
true.
the way the camel head basically is, and if you were
Yeah, you
like, if
could
you're
kind
seeing
of
it from
see that.
because it's more of where it's perched on
Yep.
the hooked neck, which just it'd be something that's similar to what you see with the velociraptors.
Well, and here's the other thing. Think about your big predators
Hmm.
nowadays.
Yeah.
Tigers, they're an endangered species, right? A
Hmm.
lot of them.
Yeah.
Some of the bears are endangered. Some of the lions in the world are endangered. Some of your different dog type animals like wolves and stuff have been hunted almost to the point of extinction. So if you think about this,
Direwolf, yeah.
yeah, if you were at a time when the world suddenly got cold because of some event that happened,
Mm-hmm.
like a flood, a global flood, the
Mm-hmm.
Younger Dryas, you know,
Younger Dryas.
if we had an event like that automatically makes reptiles uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and so the leftover ones are moving to places like Papua New Guinea
Yep.
where it's warmer. Okay, so you've got something like that happening, and then you have people saying, hey, these are coming and attacking us. They're attacking our crops, they're attacking our farms. And so they go and have wars with these creatures wherever they are. One of the accounts that I read about was recently, like in the last 25 or 30 years, somebody was interviewing people in Wales, and they said, I'm trying to find the
You know
town.
you know who they're interviewing?
Who?
Jonah.
Jonah and the Whales.
They were
That'd be a
interviewing.
good
They're
that'd be a good
interviewing.
band
They were
name.
interviewing him in Wales. These people in Wales. What people? Jonah.
Jonas.
He was the only one in Wales.
Okay, so get this. In the area around um Pin Pinland, yeah, Pinland Castle, in an area called Glamorgan,
Ooh, that's a good name.
there was an old guy that he said my father and my uncle would hunt these things because they would come and attack the chickens and the poultry, and they
Yeah.
were as bad as foxes, so they would go after them, and whenever they saw them, they would kill them. This
Mm-hmm.
was a modern guy saying that he said they were beautiful. They were really colorful. Their
Yeah.
skin had these beautiful patterns on them, and
Wow.
he gave a really detailed description. And he said that so I'm thinking, okay, let's just say this was, I don't remember when this video was made, but let's say it was 2010,
Yeah.
okay? And let's say this guy was in his 80s. So that would have put him, what, in the 1930s or
30s,
40s
yeah.
when he was a kid?
Yeah.
And so that means that his dad and uncle had been hunting them from the late 1800s
Yeah.
up until, the World War II.
Yep.
And so it's kind of like, okay, then if they were hunting them, like everybody in the town was trying to get rid of these things because they hunted after their chickens and ducks and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe they decimated the population to where there's not much left.
Yeah.
But in the 1800s, there's that really famous photo of the cowboys holding the pterodactyl that they shot.
Yes.
And so many analysts have looked at that photo and they're like, this is not a doctored photo. It comes from the 1870s.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much about the photo that's time period accurate that a modern recreationist wouldn't be able to details they wouldn't think of.
Yep.
And so here's a photo of this, and they're like, well, obviously they say it was they shot a Thunderbird, that's
Yeah.
what they had killed.
Yeah.
And so here they are with this thing, and this was before the word pterodactyl was even created. Nobody had discovered the pterodactyl fossils at that time and published that pterodactyls existed. So why would a group of cowboys come up with a hoax like this and then get it anatomically correct?
Yeah.
And create this thing. And there are things about the bird too. The way that the wing is hinged is different than the way a bat's wing is hinged, and it's different than the way that a bird's wing is hinged. Like this particular one, it's a reverse hinging.
Yeah.
How would they know that? And so we got a photograph that dates from that time, and there's a few of them out there, and some of them are probably hoaxes, and there's been a lot that have been debunked, but this one particular image, nobody's been able to really debunk it yet. And I wish I had it to pop it up on the screen, but the point is, there's well, I don't know. Tell me some. I'll see if I can find it. I want to show people that picture if they haven't seen it yet. Let's see here.
Was it in our amazing facts? And
I don't. I
I don't
don't
think it
know.
was.
No, I think this is a more modern
Yeah.
discovery. Wait, no. Soldiers. Let's see. Civil War soldiers with
The one
pterodactyls.
thing that's kind of not dubious, but when someone says, "Oh, we used to go out and kill them," I almost feel like generally when you kill something, there's the remains of it, or you can talk about where you buried it or put like wherever, you know. So it's like, why isn't there a follow up part to that? Like, and when we killed them, we burned them, or when we killed them, we buried them. You know, like
Right.
the guy with the uncle and the grandfather. So it's like we used to kill them all the time. It just feels like there's, you know, the sum and matter of energy is a constant. Like they're still there. So the bones are there somewhere or something. You know, like killing something
Okay, here's the
doesn't
picture.
cease its existence. So where is that
I don't
the
know. And
remains?
and
You know?
and the other thing is, it's like why didn't you stuff one? But
Yeah,
maybe they were so common. Like, I mean, most people, there are people that are taxidermists that'll stuff a fox or something like
yeah.
that. But I don't know of. I've been to several taxidermy places throughout the country, and I don't see too many lizards. I have seen snakes stuffed and mounted, but
Really?
it's like, yeah, like out in Texas and out in
Yeah,
the West, you can buy like stuffed rattlesnakes and stuff, and it's like I remember one time I was in a reptile house in southern Indiana, and these jerks that owned the place, they had it set up to where you came around a corner to enter this other room,
yeah.
and they had a pedestal with a stuffed cobra right there. So you come around, and there's a cobra right in your
And
face
they're
with the hood
huge.
flared.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's big, and you're like, ah! And they're like, we got another one.
yeah, yeah. I got
But it's like, coming to go up against a cobra is a scary thing. Can you imagine a
yeah,
flying cobra or something?
exactly,
And the
exactly.
other thing is, okay, what if they're not breathing fire? What if the fiery thing that they're talking about is actually venom?
Venom. Yeah,
And so if they bite you, they're poisoning you with their venom, and then you're dying, because the Exodus account sounds like a lot of people were basically being bitten
yeah,
and then dying as a result of the bites,
yeah.
So it's kind of like, maybe that's a thing. I think this image that I popped up is the actual picture that I'm talking about. And what's interesting is one of the guys is there. This is just sort of a there. It's a longer photo. There's a
Yeah.
couple other guys in the actual image, and one of the guys. There's six soldiers,
Yep.
and one of them is left-handed, and he has a left-handed pistol. And
Oh,
it's like, and that's an odd thing. You wouldn't normally see a lefty,
yeah.
in a staged kind of thing
No,
like
that's a detail,
nowadays.
right?
It's a one of those details. The other thing is the main guy that's got the rifle is got his foot on a block that when they zoom into it, it looks like the kind of a staging block that photographers used back in the 1800s
Oh,
for
nice.
photographs like this. So it's kind of like a modern person, it might be like a concrete cinder block or something. Somebody wouldn't think, oh, yeah, this is a detail that's going to show up in my faked photo.
Right,
So you
right.
wouldn't go out and actually find an actual item from the 1800s that photographers used
Yeah,
for that kind of a thing. And the head of the bird, what's really interesting is along the neck, or not bird, but the pterodactyl,
mhm.
along the neck, you can see the musculature, and it's like that's a lot of work to actually put into a model. If you're building a model that's life size like
Yeah,
that, that's like you're talking about whoever created. Let's say that is a sculpture. Whoever created that was a master, creator of
oh,
of
yeah.
like it's as good as anything that's in any movie now, nowadays. And if you just go back, oh gosh, 15, 20 years, the props in movies didn't really look
No,
that amazing.
no.
I mean, think about like how good the Star Wars characters looked.
Yeah.
And they don't even look that amazing. Like if you
Well,
really look at Yoda from
no.
Return of the, he looks
Frank
like a
Oz.
puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
he's awesome,
he's
but
Hensonic.
yes, very. But and even Jabba the Hutt. I mean,
Yeah.
he
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like a big puppet too.
Yeah.
But
Big.
this thing looks like it could be real.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really funny because, well, on one hand, you think there is so much detail to it, and your knowledge of you really have to be knowledgeable of everything pterodactyl in order to pull that off.
That's what I'm saying.
And really, people at first didn't have that. Now, the muscular detail and stuff, you could. I mean, in the Renaissance, you had
That's
the
true.
Davids and the what's his name?
Well, Rembrandt
Who's the
and
thinker?
Michelangelo. Oh yeah, yeah.
Rodin.
Rodin, yeah.
Yeah, I mean those are insane. The detail there, but having something that the Cowboys picked up. What I want to know is how heavy was that, and what was the smell like? Because that thing must
That's what
have
I'm
reeked.
thinking too.
Yeah.
The other thing about Rodin is here in North Carolina we have the art museum in Raleigh.
Yeah.
And they have one of the largest collection of Rodin sculptures in the world.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about it is Rodin wasn't like coming out of the gate every time he made a sculpture, it was amazing. A lot of these sculptures, when you look at them, you can tell, oh yeah, he's definitely experimenting here, trying to get this proportion right or trying to get that part right or whatever. And they weren't all, of the same caliber. But it's like whoever made this is like their master work, just like the thinker was a master work, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like I don't know. I'm pretty convinced by looking at that photograph. And I watched a documentary where they went through with a Photoshop expert, and he was like, well, and a photography expert, and they were talking about like certain details about it were accurate of the time that most people making a hoax wouldn't have gotten right, just when it comes to the photography of it. So I don't know. I have so many notes though to talk about.
We'll probably have to do a 2-shower on Dragon.
We probably should.
At least it could be 3.
How much time do you have?
Probably like 15 more minutes.
Okay, well let's talk about Beowulf. Because why not?
Yeah.
So the description of the things that Beowulf was fighting were they were dragons and Grendel, whatever the heck Grendel was.
Yeah.
They were very reptilian and dinosaur-like.
Yeah.
And yet people are like, well, Beowulf's a total work of fiction. And it's like, well, what if it's not? What if it is actually about a guy that went to fight a big... Now, here's the thing. Let's say we had castles and Vikings instead of being in Norway and Sweden, that they originated from Florida. Yeah. And they tell the story of going out into the swamp and fighting this great big dragon and killing it and bringing it back, its head back to the lodge. We would look at that and say, oh, obviously he fought an alligator.
Yeah.
That we would just naturally assume that. Why? Because there are alligators in Florida. And guess what? An alligator is a dinosaur. It's like we don't call it a dinosaur, but it lived during the dinosaur time period. Turtles lived during the dinosaur time period. In fact, I got a whole list of things. Sharks, sea turtles, caimans, Komodo dragons, coelacanths, ghost sharks, sturgeon, sunfish, gar, horseshoe crabs, nautilus, cockroaches, dragonflies, scorpions, all birds, salamanders, frogs, many types of plants like the ginkgo tree, the oak tree, the elm tree, bats, ants, termites, and bark beetles, and Jurassic shrimp. All those things are dinosaurs, and they all exist today.
Wow.
So it's like, if all those things exist from the dinosaur era,
Yeah.
Well, why couldn't there be Loch Ness Monster? And why couldn't there
Exactly.
be, the Grendel? Or why couldn't there be the dragon that St. George slew? Or the dragons that Marco Polo saw? Or the dragons that Alexander the Great saw? Or the dragons that
Yep.
Herodotus saw? It's like you've got all these historians, and then you've got things like the Angkor Wat carvings of the Stegosauri that are carved in the buildings. You've got the Scorpion King's mace head, which we talked about, has the brontosauruses, but also I wrote this down, the Hirak Anopolis, or Onpolis, Hirak Onpolis slate is the oldest artifact that we have, period, with any kind of writing on it.
Yeah.
And it's from Egypt, and it has those sauropod, the exact same picture
I remember that.
that's
Yep.
on the Scorpion King's mace. So it's like, why do we have these things if people didn't actually see them?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
I find it harder to say, well, they existed and people reconstructed them. Really?
Well, I mean,
reconstructions lead to things like Cyclops.
It's so right. It's so inconsistent because you can have all these depictions of not only flood but of dragons from all different kinds of not only cultures, time periods, peoples who don't know each other saying the same thing. And then conversely, you'll have maybe one person making an account of something completely false and everybody just believes that.
Exactly.
It's just like, what? Like, it's like,
well,
Joseph Campbell or something. It's like, well, this just happened with me. Anybody else? No, just me.
Okay, here's the thing. Whenever you're talking to, and I'm not claiming to be a young Earth creationist. I still don't feel like the young Earth creationists have convinced me of anything other than back to Noah's flood.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened before that.
Right.
But
Same.
Because I still think that some of the pre-flood architecture and structures seems like things like Göbekli Tepe were built to survive a flood.
Yes.
Or things like the Puma Punko, or things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure what I think about some of that stuff, or when in time that fits. But one thing that I am convinced of is that the young Earth creationists have done a really good job getting us back to Noah's flood and proving the existence of Noah's flood and all that entails. I don't know if their time period is necessarily right because they put it at 4,000 years, and that's based off of the Masoretic text, and we've already talked ad nauseum about how my opinion on the Masoretic text, but I don't think the Septuagint pushes it that much further back either. So I'm not sure what to do with the dating. But go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, the other thing is, it's remember that the way that, or what Gary Wayne said about what evil always replicates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting that you have the earth is going to be destroyed by fire, and yet you have the evil one, almost, the adversary, being a dragon breathing fire, almost like, well, I can do that too, and I can destroy things. But then you have Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego going, all right, you can bring your fire, but we're protected from your fire. We'll be surrounded by fire. We won't even smell like fire when we leave here.
Right.
We're not even. So it's almost like it almost makes a lot of sense there would be dragons in a way, just because if fire is a judgment, all right, I'm gonna make something. I'm gonna create a replication of that, which I am imposing fire to destroy people in the same way that fire will be destroyed. Like, I'll make my own lake of fire coming from the mouth of, you know what I mean? So it's almost like, if you're following.
Well, the thing is too, if you're writing a book and you're creating a religion, and you're saying, well, let me come up with something that people, I'm just going to use this word dragon. You have to give a better description of what the dragon is for people to understand. That's why we don't know what Leviathan and Behemoth was, because the Bible just assumes that we know what it is.
Yeah.
Because he says to Job, yeah, can you drag out Leviathan with a hook?
Yeah.
Can you lead around Behemoth with a loop in its nose?
Yeah.
No. And
Right.
he knew exactly what God was talking
Yeah.
about. And yet, you don't sit there and describe a creature that's mythical. If you're writing a story, you have to lay the groundwork and say, this is what this creature is.
Yep.
But for some reason, everybody knew what a dragon was. Everybody knew back then what a behemoth or a leviathan was. In the Chinese culture, everybody knows what a lung is, the Chinese dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to sit there and describe it. You just say, oh, yeah, there was a dragon over there, and people know what it looked like,
Yeah.
or they got an idea. My point is, you don't, a lot of times when you're mythical, and even Grendel, it doesn't really even tell us what Grendel or Grendel's mother looked like.
Yeah.
It just assumes that we kind of know
Yep.
what it looked like, and all we can really know is it was reptilian and it had an arm that he ripped off,
Yeah.
And it's like, and then he goes off to fight the dragon. Well, the dragon's not described very well either,
It's so interesting too, and I wonder, like, if we're going to take the logic of reptiles and that sort of thing, if the remains of one of the perfect reptiles are the reptiles that we have today, or at least, well, where I'm going with this is some reptiles can, I forgot what you call it, but when, if you chop off the tail, the tail comes
Oh
back.
yeah, like some lizards and
What
stuff.
do they call it? What's that? Somata something. I don't know.
I forget. Yeah.
But there's a concept there of perpetuity. There's a concept there of immortality. If you were to say that remnant that happens with the tail or parts of was actually in the original dragon something on all parts of the body that you could attempt to, it would heal.
That's how the Hydra was with
Yeah.
Samson.
Yeah.
But also that brings us into the Nephilim and the word Rephaim and
Yeah.
how they were. Repha comes from the word to heal. And it's like, okay, well, can they heal themselves? Is that what that's telling us? And then that makes us wonder, well, what about DNA manipulation that they want to make super soldiers nowadays by combining the DNA from other animals that have these properties?
Yep.
What if something like that was going on, and that's why the bestiality thing is in the Bible? It's not really. It's basically saying that anything that smacks of this, you're not doing, because pre-flood, maybe they had scientific. I mean, we talked about that in the pyramid episode where it's so precise.
Yep.
It's like they had science that we didn't know about. It's like, well, what if they had, if let's say 10,000 years ago, there was an advanced civilization that had serious science like what we have now, and it got wiped out by a massive flood, how much of their artifacts would be left behind after all this time? Maybe that's where you find the spark plug embedded in the rock out in Texas, or the hammer that's inside of a rock, or the aluminum pipes out in China. It's like that's where these parts, out of place artifacts probably are coming from. Is maybe they're remnants of that ancient civilization, and they're rare and weird and anomalous because we can't, we don't understand what they were for. Or the Ula Lumpur, Gabon, African natural nuclear reactor that's actually drilled in with a perfectly straight hole.
I know.
And it's like, okay, perfectly straight holes don't appear in nature, and neither do pits of uranium, or plutonium or whatever it is.
Ooh. Pits of Uranium is a great album title.
Oh, that would be a good album title. That should be your band's next album.
Yeah, Pits of Uranium.
Pits of Uranium. I love it. Okay, so now, since we've talked about dragons ad nauseum, I think we need to come up with a special JHS pick related to dragons.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So, Josh, do you have a dragon pedal yet? You probably need one.
I think
And it
so.
needs to breathe fire. Like when you step on it, flames shoot out of it.
Yeah. I think it just has to have a hot switch on it that just kind of roars. Um,
Yes, it's like a
and
real
then
deep, growly overdrive.
and then it has to have a delay because if you take the G off of dragging, it's dragging. So if something is it's dragging your tone, it just kind of
so
delays. So
so
it's
it's
got
like a
to
delayed growl.
yeah. So he should make the Smaug, he should make the Wyvern, he should make the something
Yeah,
that
just have a whole series of
oh
them.
yeah.
It's a sub series of the
The
Hidden
subjects
Citadel
they
line.
all have a dragon uh
Yeah.
component. Just a slight delay as you're playing it. It comes in late, but then it has a hot part to it that can comes in late,
Yeah,
then
and
comes in hot.
then it comes in hot. Yes, it like
Comes
fades
in late,
in with
comes in
a
hot.
growl.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That
Make it happen,
would
Josh.
be good. You can do it. You know what it is. So we have stuff, people. If you like us, you can go buy our t-shirts at redbubble.com. And we're still looking for a better t-shirt company, but so far they're the ones that we're kind of using. But
Mm-hmm.
we have comic book inspired t-shirts. We have our whole monster line of t-shirts. We have the Yuffie. We have just the Hidden Citadel logo with various incarnations of that. We have are there any other ones that I've forgotten about? I think we got like
The Yuffie.
UFO shirts,
Yeah.
the Bigfoot shirt, and we still haven't done our Bigfoot episode, but we
Well,
need
yeah,
to
get
do
that.
that.
Yeah.
You can go also to hiddencitadel4.wordpress.com where you can buy our book and you can read a bunch of articles. And I'm going to be putting up my links to the Ren Fair book and the decks of cards that if you're a
It's
magician
awesome.
and you want to do a Ren Fair show,
Mm-hmm.
you definitely could do that soon and very soon. The Encyclopedia of Weird Crap Volume 2 will be out,
And
and the Parafables
there's going to be
will
so much
be
fun.
out. They're going to be good, and I'm looking forward to seeing those when they're all finished.
Oh, they're going to be so cool. And
The
then
other thing,
I was going to say
go ahead.
the brothers Graham. I think for
Yes.
every of our we have Never Know out. It's on Spotify and all the Apple and everything like that. But on
Are
YouTube, you
you
go to
guys?
the brothers Graham, and all of our videos are going to be Hidden Citadel related.
Oh,
All of them.
nice.
Yeah, let's go.
Are you guys putting out like an actual album too? Like, or
When
are you
we're
just putting
done,
singles out for now?
singles out for now. Then we'll compile them because we have like
Nice.
at least 18 songs. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, we
That'd
can
be
just
really cool.
choose our best ones. But I like the video things. It's really fun to do.
So I'm in the middle of doing the next album of child ballads
Mm-hmm.
but I'm doing them Fantastic Frog like, and so some of them I'm kind of doing and leaning more towards like a medieval Renaissance fair sound, and then some of them I'm like they just like I just recorded Whiskey in the Jar, which is an old Irish
Yeah,
ballad, and
Metallica did that one too.
yeah, they did that one too, but I'm doing it like a surf version.
Oh, nice.
So it's got this. It's a real like almost fun sounding
Yeah.
kind of a track to it. So but then I've got other ones that are more like in the Dorian scale or whatever, and they're very medieval
Mhm.
kind of sounding. Thomas the Rhymer is one that's going to be on the album. Hind Horn is a really cool song about a guy that his girlfriend, the princess, gives him a magic ring,
Yeah.
and how that all plays out. And then I'm doing yeah, just a bunch of I'm not doing Tamlin yet. I'm saving that one, but there are several of them that are going to be out on this next Frog album, and I've decided instead of putting them out one at a time, I'm just waiting. I'm going to put them all out as a collection,
Oh,
because
it's awesome.
yeah, I feel like that way it's just like one set, and I'm planning on doing at least 3, maybe 4 of these albums because I have enough of these old ballads to do,
Mhm.
and they'll probably get more and more medieval sounding as the albums go and less frog like, but for fans that are into the surf stuff, you may or may not like it, but it should be interesting nonetheless.
Awesome.
So you can do that. Go to our blog if you want to read the articles, buy our shirts, buy the books, and I think that's everything, right?
Yeah. Encyclopedia
All
Weird
right.
Crap. Yep.
Yep. So stay in the Citadel, people, because
Night is coming.
where does it? There it is.
The watchman replies, morning is coming, but night will soon return.